Ribono shel olam, creator of heaven and earth, you who created each one of us b'tselem Elohim in your sacred image, on this Rosh Hashanah we celebrate your creation. On this day of the new year, the difficulties that our brothers and sisters in the land of Israel continue to face weigh heavily upon us. These past 2 years have been filled with pain and suffering. Even as we have, after 2,000 years of homelessness, been restored to sovereignty in our own ancient homeland, we are deeply aware of the challenge of national power. And on this Yom Adin, on this day of judgment, we fully accept the responsibility of that sovereignty. You, God, do not turn away from the suffering of all those created in your divine image, and we have been taught to imitate you. We dare not look away from the suffering of innocent ones. At this moment, we turn to you in prayer and ask that you provide wisdom to our leaders and humbly ask for your blessing of peace for us, for all Israel, and for all humanity. Today, I come before you deeply aware of the gravity of these times and offer a prayer in the hope that I will be able to address you in this moment in the best way possible. I will focus on the war in Israel and the state of the country in an in-depth interview, a conversation that I had with Yossi Klein Halevi, one of the most important thought leaders in Israel, in a recorded interview. And I hope that you will watch it when we air it on Yom Kippur afternoon along with your friends and family members. There is a photograph that never fails to bring a tear to my eye. It is of Ben-Gurion standing at the table at what now is Independence Hall in Tel Aviv, declaring the statehood of Israel. Above his head is a large picture not of Abraham, who received the promise of the land, or Moses, who led the people to the precipice of the land, to its very boundaries, or even Joshua, who fought the battles to settle there. No, the portrait is of Theodor Herzl, the man who is known as the father of modern Zionism. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that Herzl was the sole force in the creation of the modern Jewish state, based on the way that he is celebrated. Not to diminish his importance, but there were a number of people who played important roles who helped to lay the groundwork for a political solution for Jews scattered across the world. People like Moses Hess or Moses Montefiore, Leon Pinsker, and Max Nordau. All of them recognized that the ground beneath them in the diaspora was shaking. The earthquake was coming. The tectonic plates of Jew hatred were agitating just beneath the surface. And eventually, they would shudder with a violent force. Europeans who allowed Jews out of the ghetto as part of the French Revolution were now showing signs of regret. The trial of Colonel Alfred Dreyfus is simply the best known of a long list of ominous signs, including the pogroms which swept across Russia and Eastern Europe. The Jewish people needed a land of their own. Max Nordau, a physician and social philosopher, played a pivotal role in all of this and largely served as Herzl's partner. He authored the Basel Program, which was the foundational document of the Zionism movement. Less known is that at the Second Zionist Congress in 1898, Max Nordau laid out a vision that became known as Muskeljudentum, muscular Judaism. The muscular Jew, in Nordau's view, was strong, was physically fit, capable of labor, confident and proud. The muscular Jew stood in contrast to the diaspora Jew, who, in Nordau's view, had become pale, weak, and overly intellectual. In the ancient past, he argued, Jews were warriors, they were Maccabees. What was needed now was a regiment of exercise and athletic clubs to make Jews strong again. Together, Herzl and Nordau dreamed of a land transformed by a people, and a people transformed by their return to the land. While Herzl traveled the world creating the political foundations of the Judenstaat, the Jewish state, Nordau inspired Jews to prepare their bodies to work the land. Our image of the Sabra, our image of the kibbutznik, the tough Israeli, all emanated from the vision of Max Nordau, as did the Maccabeah Games. I believe that Nordau's Muskeljudentum is a concept that speaks to us today about the importance of a confident Judaism to carry us and our children forward. We Jews in the diaspora today are still feeling the aftershocks of the earthquake of October 7th. For more than 700 days since Hamas attacked Israel, the ground underneath the Jewish people has been shaking, from Tel Aviv to Chicago to Sydney. How the world has changed. Flying to New York the other week, I thought of the leading mayoral candidate who endorses the slogan, globalize the Intifada. And for the first time, as the plane was landing, I wondered if it would be more prudent to put my kippah in my pocket. In New York City, of all places. More recently, Zohran Mamdani has stated that if elected, he would see to it that Prime Minister Netanyahu be arrested if he landed in New York for the crime of war crimes. Not so long ago, such statements would disqualify a candidate. Today, they seem to only win them more votes, showing how normalized such thinking has become. One does not have to travel to New York City to see the impact of these aftershocks. All one needs to do is to look outside at what was a year ago our Grace Street entrance and see a wall there instead, placed for security. That wall is a powerful reminder of just how much the landscape has changed for Jews in America. To anyone who thinks Israel's actions are the sole cause of this change, I disagree. There is no question that Israel's standing in the world has been damaged badly since October 7th. By horrid statements and actions by extreme elements in the Israeli government. by questions about the true intentions of the prime minister, by the lack of clarity as to the war goals and where the fate of the hostages fits in, by threats of annexation, and most of all, by the constant images of death and destruction flowing out of Gaza unchecked, without thoughtful, credible responses from the government in Israel. While all these factors have had a negative impact, none of them properly explains the rush to judge Israel, and with it, Jews around the world. Even those in the Jewish community who have been questioning the war early on must reckon with the vociferous fury of the response to Israel and Jews worldwide since the murderous orgy of October 7th. Rather than raise moral questions about Hamas and its supporters around the world, the unprovoked attack on Israel unleashed seismic waves of anti-Semitism greater than most of us ever imagined possible around the world and in this country. It seems, as Cynthia Ozick put it, that Israel's response to the murders, the rapes, and the hostages gave the world permission to express its anti-Semitism more openly and violently. Just as Herzl and Nordau looked at their reality honestly, and then had the courage to dream with confidence of a different Jewish future, so must we. As we begin the new year, I ask you to take a pause from the day's headlines or our favorite opinion writers and podcasts and do something that Jews have always done at such moments. Let us look to an ancient calendar. Let us look to an ancient text for wisdom and for direction. I offer you the well-known words of Hillel the elder. Hu haya omer, he used to say, im ein ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Uchesha'ani la'atzmi ma'ani. And if I'm only for myself, what am I? V'im lo achshav ematai. And if not now, when? Hillel lived at a time of great upheaval in the Jewish community, and rather than offering a solution to the problems that they faced in that moment, our great sage presented a framework from which to approach such moments. He began with a focus on the self and our people, and yes, on our own parochial concerns. Implicit in Hillel's dictum is the fact that if we cannot prioritize the needs of our own people first, then we are lost. I submit to you that many in the American Jewish community have not felt the need to focus our attention on the first part of Hillel's statement. If I'm not for myself, who will be for me? We have felt safe in America. Admirably, we looked past our own needs as a community and focused on the needs of others who needed our help. It was the second part of Hillel's statement that truly spoke to us. Uchesha'ani latzmi ma'ani. But if I'm only for myself, what am I? The history of the American Jewish community in the 20th century is of a people fully confident in the dream of America. So much so that we felt that if we kept our attention on the rights of others, that it could only redound to the benefit of everyone, including the Jews. Examine the founding and early leadership of labor rights, civil rights, women's rights, anti-poverty work, immigration justice, environmentalism, and gun violence prevention, and you will find a preponderance of Jews engaged in that fight. In the post-World War II era, we literally made social justice into a religious mandate in the form of what had been traditionally a Jewish mystical idea, now Americanized, tikkun olam. The problem is that those ancient tectonic plates of Jew hatred never stopped moving below our feet. David Nierenberg is a historian who argues that the hatred of Jews has been a core element of Western thought for millennia. According to his thinking, throughout our history, Jews serve as the ultimate shapeshifters, taking the form of whatever the society fears and detests. From Christianity to Islam, Jews were painted in the ugliest and most fearful of ways, despised and kept down. Communists portrayed Jews as rabid capitalists in Russia, while American capitalists pointed to the Jews as communists in their midst. In our own day, those in the progressive sphere who revile settler colonialism have identified Israel as the ultimate evil. Therefore, anyone who supports Israel is part of this cabal. For those conservatives who subscribe to an American first approach, Israel is a powerful force pushing the U.S. into war for its own benefit through a fearful fifth column, the insidious Jewish community. We have come to a point where the one and only thing that these very different groups can all agree on is that the Jews are the problem. In the time of Moses, a pagan prophet by the name of Balaam looked out on the people of Israel and prophesied, Hein am levadad yishkon. There is a people that dwells apart, uvagoyim lo yitchashav, not considered among the nations. Sadly, his words ring too true to this day. The question for us on this Rosh Hashanah is, what do we do with this knowledge? How shall we go forward? Will we contort and assimilate ourselves to what Dara Horn refers to as conversionist anti-Semitism, as Jews have done for centuries? Since the time of Mordechai and Esther, Jews have denied part of their identity in order to make themselves acceptable to the non-Jewish world. Jews have neglected the basic tenets of our religion, severed our connection to the land of Israel, rejected our ethnicity by changing our names, or trying to fully assimilate through marriage to be accepted. None of these efforts, not one, has proven to be successful. There is always a moment when the outside world reminds us just how futile it is to allow anti-Jewish hate to define us. As we begin a new year, let us confidently say to the world that we are Am Yisrael. We are a people with powerful ties to one another. We are a family. We share a rich culture, books of deep wisdom. We are a nation with ancient roots to the land of Israel. We are a nation with a mandate from God to follow the Torah, to accept its moral code, and ultimately serve as an Or LaGoyim, to be a light to the nations. God, Torah, people, land. These are the parts of Judaism that make us whole, that make us Am Yisrael. Thousands of years ago, Hillel framed the issue, Im ein ani li mili. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Only from that strong and confident sense of identity can we determine our own path forward. And what I'm speaking about this morning is not theory, but something that I have witnessed here at Anshe Emet. People leaning into their Judaism, Rather than putting away their Judaic symbols, they are wearing them openly with pride. Jews are coming to our congregation in larger numbers. Jews are finding greater joy and meaning in Jewish life, in Jewish culture, and Jewish thought as members of Klal Yisrael. Our parents are hungry to learn how to have Shabbat at home, to celebrate the Jewish calendar with their children. Walk around this building today and you will see that all 6 of our adult services, as well as our children's and youth programs, are full to capacity, whether in person or online. Through the vision and generosity of Betsy Goodwitz, along with Michael and Helen Arcus, we are creating a citywide senior center here at Anshe Emet in partnership with the Council for Jewish Elderly. I am proud that Anshe Emet has become a safe place where Jews can have thoughtful conversations about Israel. Through our work with the organization Resetting the Table, people are learning how to have a dialogue across the spectrum of the diverse opinions that are represented in this community. At a time when Jews are finding fewer and fewer spaces where they can comfortably gather as Jews, we strive to be that place, that center for Jewish life. This program guide, our largest ever, is an invitation for you to find your place as part of a vibrant Jewish community. Our theme, Mechayel L'Chayel, from strength to strength, is a clear statement about how we see our role in the Chicago Jewish community today and tomorrow. But what I'm most concerned about this morning is our children. Children like Lila. Children who are confronted with challenges in their schools that you and I never had to face. But I can also report that our youth are amazing. Our B'nai Mitzvah espouse strong convictions. They find meaning in our tradition. They stand with pride and confidence on this bima week in and week out as they prepare for Jewish adulthood. We owe them the best education possible, secular and Jewish, not as a response to anti-Semitism, but as an embrace of their Jewish and American birthright. Our religious school has more than 200 students, ably led by Marty Kaminer, who herself is a graduate of that school. And beginning next year, Bernard Zell's new headmaster will be Mitchell Dar, who himself is a graduate of that school. Both Marty and Mitchell were B'nai Mitzvah on this bima. What a wonderful statement of the work of this congregation, moving from strength to strength, Michayel L'Chayel. And I'm excited that we have a new state-of-the-art Jewish high school in Chicago, opening in 2027. It speaks well of our congregation that many of its leaders are members of the Anshe Emet family. People like J.R. and Katie Berger, and Ilan and Rebecca Shalit, as well as the named donors, Tony and Laura Davis. In this liminal moment, it is good to know that the Chicago Jewish community, with the vital support of our Jewish United Fund, is responding in the most positive way possible to this challenging moment, creating tomorrow's leaders strong and confident in their Jewish identity. It is from this place of confidence that we can respond to Hillel's second challenge. Uchesha'ani latzmi ma'ani. But if I'm only for myself, what am I? Over the past few years, we have had to face the pain and shock of leaders in communities that we had stood with, abandoning us in an hour when we most needed their support. Rather than walking away, I believe this is the moment to lean in part because of people like Pastor Chris Harris, who I want to personally thank for standing with us in the face of withering criticism and physical threats. This goes beyond friendship, though. The Jewish community needs partners to stand with us on our issues, to fight for the America that we believe in. And that can only happen if our communities face one another and build enduring relationships. Along with Lee Rosenberg, another member of our community, we are assembling a national Black and Jewish leadership effort called the Unity Forum. Our goal is simple: creating a better future for both of our communities and working toward an America that is true to its ideals. Ve'im lo achshav, matai. And if not now, when? There is a sense of urgency about all of this, but there should not be a moment of panic. It does no one in the Jewish community any good to make invidious comparisons to the 1930s. You and I, we're privileged to be part of the most powerful diaspora community in history and to live at a time where there is a strong and capable Jewish state. So let us learn from Max Nordau's Muskeljudentums and walk forward with confidence. As I stand before you this day, I'm deeply aware that this will be my last time addressing you on Rosh Hashanah as your senior rabbi. Well, I have a wealth of personal feelings and deep gratitude for this opportunity. Standing here on this high holiday, it is the gravity of this moment that grips me. And with this knowledge and this awareness, I offer you the two words that Moses spoke to those who would follow after him. Chazak v'amatz, be strong, and be of good courage. A confident American Jewry is knowledgeable about their own tradition, finding meaning in its ancient wisdom, solidarity and community, and the joy and spiritual depth of our calendar and Torah. A confident American Jewry can love Israel deeply, engage with her people fully, and understand that the country and its leaders are human, and the state is imperfect. If we want our children to love Israel, then we must educate them in a way that tells the full story of the history of Israel and acknowledge all the people living on that land and their narratives as well, even when they conflict with our own. A confident American Jewry makes visiting Israel a priority, especially for our children, and has attained a sufficient knowledge of the history and complexities of modern Israel to be thoughtful in their assessments, to not be afraid to criticize when the countries or its leaders or its soldiers fall short. A confident American Jewry can praise without apology what is extraordinary in Israel and her people, beginning with the resilience of Israelis, the courage and sacrifice of the soldiers and their families, and the remarkable achievements of the IDF in Iran and Lebanon. At the same time, our hearts can break in the face of the death and destruction that has been wrought on Gaza. A confident American Jewry can engage with other Jews in hard dialogue and disagree without casting each other out of the Jewish people. A confident American Jewry confronts anti-Semitism openly and can say that as heinous as other forms of hate are, anti-Semitism is unique. And when our enemies threaten to destroy Israel and the Jewish people, we must take them at their word. A confident American Jewry can say that there are times when we can be right and much of the world can be wrong. As was evident in the past few days as France led the world in recognizing a Palestinian state, pretending all the while that the timing of this act will not be seen as a rebuke of Israel or a victory for Hamas. Finally, a confident American Jewry understands that we have significant responsibilities to the United States of America. Jews have played a unique role from America's birth to the present day. It was the Torah's notion of equality, let us make man in our likeness and in our image, that the founders joined to the Greek understanding of democracy. Look at the ceiling above your head. There, you will see the inspiration for the preamble of the Constitution. It flows directly from our tradition. The idea that it comes from the book of Genesis, that all human beings have inherent worth. Those words serve as a reminder to us on this day that we have a responsibility to act courageously, the amatz, and say no to those who denigrate the image of God in others, no to those who attempt to silence free speech in this country, no to those who erase the history of others, no to those who belittle the power of dialogue. Jews represent a great tradition. And just as we have contributed at this country's founding, so too today do we have a pivotal role to play. We have something that America needs to learn: the power of equality. Chazak v'amatz, be strong and be of good courage. At a time when the ground continues to shake beneath our feet, let us stand together without fear, but in the spirit of Max Nordau, as confident American Jews, as proud Zionists, standing strong with our people, standing strong with our brothers and sisters in Israel, standing strong with Jews around the world, as Am Yisrael. People who understand what America means to us and what we mean to America. Embracing the full importance and urgency and wisdom of Hillel's framing of this moment. Hu haya omer, im ein ani li mili. He used to say, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? Ukasha'ani latzmi, ma'ani. But if I'm only for myself, what am I? V'im lo achshav, ematai. If not now, when? Am Yisrael Chai.